Hello, you guys. Welcome to another episode of Calmly Tuned. How many times have you heard people talk about doomscrolling and how it impacts their mental health? As of today, would you agree that the effects and impacts of doomscrolling are a very severe experience a lot of us are dealing with secretly or openly? The most common theory behind doomscrolling is that we are simply trapped in the loop of dopamine hit. It can be compared with the slot machine effect. Your brain releases dopamine not when you find the perfect post or story or videos, but from the feelings of the anticipations of that perfect video. The fucked up thing is that while you get a tiny rush of dopamine, your amygdala, the brain's emotional and threat processing center, goes into overdrive, pumping out stress hormones and leave you anxious and tired, but still chemically wired to continue doom scrolling. Some research said that from an evolutionary viewpoint, humans are hardwired to scan for threats. Reading disturbing headlines is very likely to give your brain a dopamine spike because it registers new information as a survival advantage. But back to the modern time, threat levels are comparatively lower than the ancient time. Is it possible that we are trying to detach from our current reality and transport to another reality temporarily through doom scrolling? In our lifetimes, especially Gen Z, they are in a very unique position compared to other generations, as they are what the internet call the first true digital native. They have grown up with the internet, smartphones, and social media integrated into nearly every aspect of their lives. And this is unnatural. It is nothing like the time before the internet. Without the internet, you only see what is before you. The unseen simply remains unwritten in your world. An average life is in a smaller scope, much simpler, less worried, less trouble, and more contentment. People older than Gen Z might be able to relate to this statement more, as Gen Z and the generations afterward that just never experienced life without connecting to literally everything that happens around the world 24/7. The different news and stories, fake or real, from doom scrolling really spike the dopamine hard. Every scroll, your brain anticipates the perfect post, or stories or videos pop up on your screen. And everyone knows that the more you scroll, the better your social media algorithms reads your attention span spent on the screen, and you will more likely or have a higher chance to watch a video your brain anticipates the most. And day after day, have you ever thought to yourself, maybe if I could just live like whoever or whatever I am seeing in that video, my life would be perfect and true happiness will be found? It almost sounds like a revelation we have created and then fed back into our own minds to believe, doesn't it? Beyond the dopamine hit, have you ever considered that you might be trying to detach from your current reality and live vicariously through an influencer or a lifestyle that feels out of reach? In doing so, you may be planting a new fantasy in your mind and then shaping your behavior around it in an attempt to find purpose or contentment. On our screens, there is always a better lifestyle, a wealthier partner, a more successful parent, or more perfect children. But many people forget that much of it may be fabricated, curated for commercial purposes or monetized content, and the illusions becomes the product. One of the examples I can think of is a story from a man named Andrea Rebello. All his social media posts were about the lavish lifestyle that he was living, expensive car, luxury hotels, you name it, he got it. But he was actually heavily in debt, and to fuel that fantasy of a high life, he even went beyond and forged her mother's wills and stabby his mother to get money. What sort of twisted reality had this poor man created in his mind that pushed him onto this path and led to such an awful tragedy? Well, this is an extreme example, but it shows how easily people can become hooked on the story told through a rectangular screen, and how some may even go further, trying to turn that imagined reality into an actual one. Here is another statistic. When you think about luxury goods and services, what percentage of the general population versus truly affluent people actually drives the luxury market? Are you thinking about 90 to 99% of the luxury good user would be the top 10% of the income earner? That makes more sense, isn't it? But of course, it doesn't work like that. So approximately 75% of global luxury purchases are driven by middle class and lower income consumers. That's right. 3/4 of the sales come from people who either cannot afford them or can only barely scrape by. Rather than an exclusive wealthy monopoly, the luxury market relies on aspirational spending. The general population fuels the 480 billion global personal luxury goods market through accessible entry points. So just imagine you are on a 90k salary a year. That would be 7.5k a month. And imagine if a designer handbag is 15k, you have to save 3 months to get it. So that is a quarter of a year in your lifetime earning as a middle class income earner. The money just goes poof, and not even saying goodbye to you. It just rudely exits your bank account and is wandering in some rich people's pocket in some remote island because they sell you a bag. 3 months of working life to feel a fantasy of a 3 minutes video post online. It's kind of sick when you think about that in the modern world. In psychology, upward comparison is a very surreal experience most of us encounter many times in life. Upward comparison happens when you compare yourself to someone who seems better off, richer, more attractive, more successful, more accomplished. But we all know everything can be a double-edged sword. It can be helpful for obvious reasons, like setting goals, building career, developing skills. However, upward comparison can also distort our perceptions of reality, reinforcing unrealistic lifestyle or identity fantasies. And when these fantasies become internalized and drive behavior, the likelihood of maladaptive decisions and subsequent negative outcomes increases significantly. My personal experience with doomscrolling is depressing, very anxious, nonsensical, and very detached from the world. Why am I not looking like that model with the perfect body that everyone idolizes? Why am I not traveling around the world in a luxury yacht next week? Why do I still not have the perfect boyfriends and girlfriends at this age? Why are my parents not as wealthy as theirs? There are no answers to those questions. The truth is that I live within the reality I construct for myself. When I watch videos or posts on social media, I start comparing my own circumstances to what I see. And then I begin imagining the reality someone else has created, slipping into their version of life. Yet, that reality may be nothing more than a curated facade designed to sustain the fantasy they have built for their online identity. It just becomes an endless loop of illusions they project and we absorb, feeding us and fueling fantasies that were never ours to begin with. We become the ones who make those fantasies feel real, pursuing a reality that does not belong to us. This constant reminder of our less than ideal presence becomes a burden, leaving us wondering how containment is even possible. The thing is, you only need to do one thing: turn off your screen and walk away.